Wow, what a generosity of spirit. And I am so humbled to be here today on the 70th day show and on the last one that Noelle is a part of. So again, I just want to, big hearts, big hearts.
Just want to make sure people can hear you.
Big outside voice. Can you hear me?
In the back, can you guys hear okay? Okay.
All right, good sound check, thank you. All right, so today I'm going to share with you my journey through time. So you're going to journey with me through time. Okay, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
All right, you can sit in your seat. You don't have to get up. There's no dancing. You did that already. You paid in advance. I'm going to share with you the fact that, see if we can,
Green sector.
Yeah, it's something, yeah.
There you go.
And then now, yeah, there we go. That how we experience time and how we sync with time is central with how we relate to ourselves and to others. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about this construct of time first. Time exists because we make it so. Wow, this is early for that depth, right? But think about it, it's really a matter of celestial bodies. We've got the earth, we've got the moon, we've got the sun. Where do we get our days? Our days because we have 24 hours for the earth on its axis, and that gives us light and dark. And then we have 12 months as we have our journey around the sun, and that gives us the year and the seasons. We are in interplay. There's a push and a pull, a tug, an up, a down, a light, a dark. Part of this. This is rhythm. We are all part of this dance in time. Now, I said you didn't have to dance, but we're going to talk a little light physics. All right? So if we're talking about time, I have to mention this gentleman up here, right? Because this is about relativity. And time is elastic, right? And so I have to read this part because it is still morning. So I'm going to share with you part of Einstein's theory of relativity. Okay. Two events simultaneous for one observer may not be simultaneous for the other observer if the observers are in relative motion. Exhibit A, I talked about we're spinning all the time. Are we always moving? Yes. Are we always in concert with what's happening? Sometimes. But that movement means, bottom line, there's less to our experience that is objective, and there's more that is relative. It's less about what's happening to you and more about your narrative about what you're experiencing. Time is elastic, and how we function relative to time determines our connection to ourselves and others. So that's enough heaviness. Go with me to the light. Okay. So in childhood, we exist inside and outside of time, both. Remember, time is elastic. So I want to share with you a piece from my childhood. We talked about celestial bodies, right? And my parents were the two giants, celestial giants that my life revolved around. And when they were around, things were light and bright and wonderful, right? And they were literally, it's my sun and my moon. My dad worked during the day. My mom, for a while, worked at night. And there was a period in between that twilight, that magic hour, where we were all together. And as a child, I had no concept of time. None whatsoever. I could entertain myself watching a line of ants marching. I could delight in the perfect pom-pom of a dandelion. Right? I could find clouds that made shapes of anything I could imagine. It was that open. In a way, I existed outside of time. It started to be different when, and journey with me here, Can you recall yourself? So I'm going to give you a moment to think about yourself at the age of 8. You at 8. Did you have a dimple, gap tooth smile, curly hair? Maybe it was sticking up in that school photo. Whatever, that picture of 8. So as we're talking about this concept of time, what was it for you? For me, it was dandelions and clouds. But when you lost yourself in time, you were outside of time. What did that for you? What transported you there? This is part of my gift. I had said we were going to time travel together. So I want you to evoke that for yourselves. Once we get to school, our notion of time changes. Why? Because they told us. So all of a sudden, time is like a box that things are crammed into, right? You gotta wait, you gotta get in line. There are rules associated with what we're doing and how we're doing it. We're less on our own and more attached to this otherness, right? And that's with school. And then you have summertime, wide open. Back again to big swaths of open time where you could lose yourself. So again, childhood, in and out of time. This time, it's elastic. Let's be an adult. We're all adulting right now, right? To different degrees. Right? So as an adult, as a professional, whatever we're doing to fill our time and what we're doing to make of our time in this world, we are more cramming it into boxes. We have more external influences that are impacting how we handle that time, the way we exist in time, what that time means to us, and who we are. And that is part of adulting. And I understand the booze. I didn't really serve adulting up very well with this, did I? But what I want to reinforce here is that time continues to collapse on itself a bit, right? The cadence. School age, you have the school year, you have your breaks. In adulting, it collapses to this. Monday through Friday, weekend, do it again. Monday through Friday, weekend, do it again. Right? You hear that rhythm? Right? It contracts. And if we're not watching, we contract right along with it. Right? So I want to talk about this concept of elastic time as we age. So back to that 8-year-old you, right? And there was always somebody, usually an adult, who would ask, how old are you? Right? And if you were 8.5 or 8 3/4, it would look like this. 8 3/4, right? Because it really, really mattered. All of that time so mattered. I'm standing here before you today, a proud 55 and a half. Yeah. Right? 55 and a half. In that time, it matters, but not the same way. So why is that? It's part of that elasticity, right? Is it because it's a smaller portion of our overall chunk of time here, now, 55 revolutions instead of 8? I think so. I think that is why. This entire experience of elastic time really amplified for me in parenthood. And as I was expecting my first child, a good friend of me said, oh, Sonya, you have no idea. Some things you don't know until you experience it. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then she said, when you have a child, it is a piece of you, like a piece of your heart is existing outside of your body. That's right up there with Einstein. Right? But you do it. It's such a beautiful thing, and that's so true, and I've been blessed 3 times. But you know what I also have? I have a full-size reminder of my age. And if I'm in a weak moment, I'm seeing them, and I'm seeing myself hurtling towards these golden years, which I'm like, wait a minute. Is 50 the new 30, or is it 60?
Yes.
Okay, yes. But part of this hamster wheel of life, remember I was talking about the rhythm of Monday through Friday, weekend, do it again. Monday through Friday, weekend, do it again. And with school-age children, that amplified again, right? And then it's about back to school time and open houses and It's just that cycle. There's a rhythm to our everyday lives. And if we don't watch it, it's creating what our cadence is for us, right? Monday through Friday, weekend, do it again. Monday through Friday, weekend, do it again. So let's talk about the technology impacts to this cycle and to this rhythm and to this repeat, right? So if the rat race, the hamster wheel, whatever we want to talk about that Monday through Friday, weekend, do it again is, right? Well then, if that's the rat race, with technology in the digital age, that's Formula One, baby. I mean, zoom, 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 zoom. Things are coming to you, at you, through you at a pace that nobody can keep up with, right? So that's another thing. That's another thing that's pelting you within your experience, right? So what we have to reconcile and what it's important to understand is that we're in a dynamic with our environment and our surroundings. And so when that's digital, the question is that bringing you closer? Is that making us more connected? It can. Is it making us more isolated? Right? A lot of what's happening with technology, from my lived experience, so thank you for listening, is isolating. And I think it's kind of a bait and switch. It feels like it's going to be connecting, and it does offer some things really quickly and cool, but it has a dark side. And it can be excessively isolating as we're trying to reconcile these images with ourselves and what we're seeing in this content that's coming to us constantly in a pelt, on a barrage, on a regular basis. You know, I don't know how many people get up, the first thing you do is look at your phone because that's where your alarm is, and then you have things that draw you in. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that impact. I frequently lose track of time. I frequently feel like I exist outside of time. And when I feel that way, I'm not at my best. When I feel that way, that's a signal to me that I am overwhelmed. I am living outside of time. What that could look like to somebody who's with me or around me, it might look exactly the same. There's nothing you can tell that's different. I am not in pain. It's not horrible. I am just me. I'm just a little subdued. But I know me. And I know that I'm making decisions where I'm being narrower and narrower about what I choose to engage in and how I choose to show up, because I have less and less energy to do and be where I am, right? And in those moments, I am out of sync. And so when we're out of sync, it's really important to find a way in which to center. There are a lot of external forces at play. You've heard me reference a lot of them, probably too fast. But we have planets, we have gravity, we have the ebb and flow, we have our internal forces as well. We have our hopes, we have our fears, we have our dreams. We're reconciling these all the time. So when I was out of sync, the way to anchor me, and this is bringing back that 8-year-old self, bring that picture back to your mind. There's 2 names that do it for me. And it's Stevie and Michael. And when I hear the first licks of music coming from Sir Duke, right? Oh my God. It just transports me. And the same thing with Living in the City with Stevie Wonder. Or maybe with Michael Jackson. Want to be starting something? Right? It transports me. This is back to time being elastic. Back to the time travel. It gets me at a fundamental level. It snaps me right back to that 8-year-old where the world is big, my opportunities are vast, and I can get out from under those things that are weighing me down and keeping me out of sync and out of rhythm and discordant with myself and my experience. So it's important to anchor, right? And we need to anchor with ourselves first. So for me, that's music, right? Another thing that always works is nature, something that's bigger than I am. So I can go to the beach, I can go to Pirates Cove, I can look out to Star Island, And it looks the same now as it did when I was 8. It is still there, right? It's the same also with the moon, right? You can look out at the moon and see the seas and the shallows and the shadows on the moon. And that is something that connects me to each one of you in here. It's the same moon, y'all. And it connects all of us to everybody outside of this room. It's the same moon, right? So anchoring in something larger than us is really important. Connecting with ourselves to then connect with others. We have to talk a little bit more about music, right? So this third piece, I want to talk about the magic that comes together, and you all have already witnessed it and participated in it today in this room, right? When you bring a group of people together, right, and there's an amalgamation of that, what do we want to call it, that when people are together and focused on the same thing. Sporting events, concerts do this extremely well because of the volume and the venue, right? So when you've got 50,000 people, right, and all together, maybe have you ever been lucky enough to sing Sweet Caroline in the 7th inning stretch at Fenway?
Yes.
Right? And what that feels like? Or maybe you're at a concert or Portsmouth Gym, right? And you've been lucky enough to do the clap, clap, boom of Queen's We Will Rock You, and it reverberates through. That connection is what I'm talking about. And on a smaller level, have you ever gone to pick up your phone to call somebody and they're calling you, or there's a text from them and they were thinking of you at the same time? Those are the connections I'm talking about. It's the magic associated with human connection and what Creative Mornings is really, really good at. So we're going to tie it all together, right? So time is elastic, and it snaps back, and you can use that ability to time travel back to what you recognize as your complete self. For me, it was 8. Answer the question for what that is for you and what brings you there, right? Have that knowledge and that insight and use it. So I want to introduce this concept of flow. So imagine, here's one of the greatest words of all time. Are you all ready? Murmuration. So think about a murmuration of starlings in perfect unison, carving a shape into the horizon. That is flow. That is connectivity. That is miraculous, right? And so that is an image, or a surfer. Any surfers here? Right? So in the pipe, right? How to do this and how to find your flow. So I'm going to talk about 4 ways in which to do that. Okay. It's important that we all run our diagnostics occasionally. All right? Have a sense of where you are in space and time. So I'm going to give you an example run of a diagnostic right now. Are you stuck? Are you in survival mode? Are you experiencing agency, or are you kind of buffering? Are you right here, right now, or somewhere else? Are you actively setting the tone, or are you involved with something that somebody else has set for you? And that's okay if that is, but are you aware of it? And is that what you want? So that's an example of the diagnostic. So here's the 4-part plan in closing. The keys to finding your rhythm first is to ground yourself. Connect with your body. For me, that was the beach staring out at Star Island, right? Connect. Next, center your mind. Third, know your rhythm. If time is elastic, what's your natural rhythm? Right? So there's a great image that's part of the art that Noel introduced for this morning's talk from Basel. And there were different methods of dance illustrated in there, you know, and if you look closely, there was a samba, right? There was also a tango. We each have our own desired meter. right? That we feel seen, heard, and in the flow with. And that can change. Are you ready for a change? As part of why you're out of step, you're no longer in the samba, you want a tango, right? Or the cha-cha. So it's important that you curate your own rhythm, and make sure you are modulating. More bass, less treble. Maybe you want more light, maybe you need more alone time, right? Make sure you are modulating what you have to make it work for you. So in closing, we are all short on time, but there's plenty of flow to be had, and I wish you well as you find yours. Thank you.